Hey y'all, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Brittany and welcome to my channel. So today's video is actually not a video I anticipated doing today. I was actually going to do my homeschool organization video today, and it didn't end up happening because I was very anxious. As you can see, I got my diagnosis. I was so anxious about going to get that today that I couldn't even think straight for most of the day. And I really didn't want to film this video just yet because I wasn't sure how I was going to feel after the appointment, but I actually feel pretty good about it. So I figured I would go ahead and just sit down and do this video instead. And I'm going to do my homeschool organization video next Friday instead. So before I insert my first clip that I have, I actually only have one other clip. I did a short little video before I went in to get my after I got my evaluation done. And so I'm going to insert that here in a minute. But before I do that, I kind of wanted to give a little bit of background. I have known for a while that there was something going on, that I had something that made it hard for me to just do life. Things have always felt challenging. I have always had a really hard time remembering things and focusing. I did really well in school whenever it came to my grades, as far as work that I had to do immediately, but any kind of work that involved projects or anything that involved planning, things like that, I did very, very poorly in. And then whenever I got into college, I did really poorly and I dropped out very quickly because I just could not handle it. There was so much pressure and I could not organize my life at all. And so I ended up dropping out after like 2 months because I knew I was going to fail and I couldn't keep going. So, and then I've always struggled as an adult to do adult type things. Doing a budget was never anything I was very good at. I struggle with meal planning. I struggle with keeping my house organized and tidy. I have always had a hard time remembering where I put things. I lost things all the time. I would procrastinate really bad. Even though I don't intend to procrastinate, it just ends up happening, and I have a really hard time getting started on things. I am always late to everything. And I'm really bad at planning. So originally I always thought that it was just a personality flaw, that it was something that I'm just not disciplined enough. I just needed to work harder. And I tried and I tried and I tried, and I never could work hard enough to get to the point that I was successful in life. I would do one thing well and then everything else would fall apart. So when my oldest got diagnosed with ADHD, there were some things that were kind of red flags for me in myself, but I never really thought much of it. And it wasn't until I got really heavy into drinking and tried to get sober and came to the realization that I had a lot of traits that lined up with ADD. And I mentioned it to my dad, and my dad's like, oh, well, yeah, they wanted to diagnose you as ADD when you were a kid. Okay, well, that would have been good to know. And for those of you who don't know, undiagnosed ADHD and ADD it's now under one umbrella. It's now all called ADHD. So undiagnosed ADHD can end up leading to alcoholism. That was a couple of years ago, and I never did get evaluated. I always assumed that that may be what was going on, and it wasn't until very recently, because I have other issues with sensory processing disorders. I had never been diagnosed with sensory processing disorder, but my oldest had, and I have a lot of sensory issues. As I started to learn about sensory processing to help him, I noticed a lot of it in myself, And then I started digging more into ADHD. And then I started digging more into autism because my oldest son, tested right below the autistic spectrum. And a lot of the things I saw about how autism presented in women, I related to a lot of those. And so I don't know why, I guess it was just hearing, the word autistic, I felt like I really did need to go talk to somebody. So now I've rambled forever, but I set up an appointment. I have gone to 3 appointments with a psychologist. So the video I'm about to insert is from 2 weeks ago, and it was immediately after I got my evaluation done. So I'm going to go ahead and start that here. Okay, so I just left my assessment. I was going to film something before I went in there, but I was running super late per the usual. Yeah, I got in there, and she's super sweet, and she was telling me that, don't feel pressured, and that there is no failing, so don't feel like you're failing. I felt like I was failing. Which is probably why she said that. She said it's just like taking a blood test. It just gives me an idea of what's going on in your head. And oh my goodness, my brain is so fried. I almost cried like 3 times. It's just really frustrating. It is Thursday, June 25th, right now. I am supposed to go back July 9th to get my results. So, in one of my, I think it was my pregnancy update, that I said about how whenever I went in the first time to just do the talk, that I went in, I left all of my notes at home, and I was just going to talk to her and see how, just what, kind of came out. And then I got home, and as I was thinking about it, I realized all of the things that I didn't say. And so I sat down and I typed up 2 whole pages of things that I forgot to say, and I brought it in with me today. And she said, "Oh, okay, I see now why you were wondering if it was testing for autism." And then she was reading, and she said, "Okay, so you have like a lot of sensory issues." I'm like, "Oh yeah, like a lot of sensory issues." It's like bad. And so, but man, all of that, it made me really sympathize with Matt, because Matt's got to go back in and get another evaluation. I talked to his pediatrician. Man, I feel for him, because that was hard. Like, I'm exhausted. My brain is like tired. And I feel dumb. Man. Because you have to do all of this memory work, and there are things that I had watched some I had watched a video, and I actually didn't even watch the whole thing because I didn't want to know too much about what it was, what the testing was like going into it, so that way I didn't have an idea in my head and I wasn't able to I guess fake it. Like, I really wanted to get I don't know. You couldn't fake that. Like, that test that I took was not the same test that the person that I watched took, and you couldn't fake that. But yeah, all of the memory work, and my memory sucks, y'all. Like, it's bad. I have such a bad memory. And then, some of the logic puzzles, I struggle a lot with those. I don't play the logic games, like the Candy Crush and stuff like that. It gives me a headache because I'm not good at that kind of stuff. I don't know. I feel like if you could fail it, I failed it. So we'll see what she has to say on the 9th. I'm not feeling. The good thing is, before I went in, whenever I was going to turn my camera on, and I was going to film a little bit before I went in, one of the things that I was thinking is, when you go into this kind of an evaluation, your fear is that they're going to say there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. And because you know something's wrong with you. Not like that, you're sick or anything, but that you know that your brain works differently than other people. But yeah, even though I knew that, it's still kind of a fear that you go in and you're just, what if they tell you that there's nothing wrong with you? What if they tell you that you're just, you're just a little weird? That was my biggest fear with doing this evaluation, is that they would say that there was nothing wrong. After doing the evaluation, I don't know what she's gonna say, but I'll be shocked if she says that there's not something there. I don't know. I'll probably second guess all of that too. I'll probably maybe she's just gonna say you're dumb. I think the next time I'll see y'all in this footage anyway is going to be whenever I get my results and I'm sitting down to tell y'all what is wrong with me. So I guess I'll see y'all in a minute. For me, it's going to be like 2 weeks, but I'll see y'all in a minute. Okay, so first of all, I want to say that I did not fail that test like I thought that I did. It was really bothering me, and she actually told me that was a that it was a good sign, that it was frustrating, that whenever I was that actually helped her with her diagnosis, that she could see that I was frustrated whenever I couldn't understand it or I couldn't get it. My official diagnosis is inattentive ADHD with sensory processing disorder. So ADHD now is the general term. They don't use the term ADD anymore. It's there's two types of ADHD. You can have inattentive ADHD, or you can have hyperactive ADHD, or you can have combined. And so then you'd have both inattentive and hyperactive, and that's what my son has, and I have the inattentive. Whenever we went through all of the big old packet that she put together, she said that cognitively I did very well, and that was the indicator for her that it probably was not ASD, because typically someone with autism will do really well in one area of the cognitive evaluation and poorly in the other. And so since I tested fairly evenly on both areas of the cognitive test, that immediately was an indicator to her that it probably is not ASD. So then whenever she went into the questionnaires that I had to answer, there was a lot of severe impairments, and she said that kind of helped solidify that it was ADHD and not autism. And so that was a relief. I wasn't exactly sure how I felt about that possibility of a diagnosis. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I think it would have been tricky. She said she believes that really my sensory issues play a lot into my social issues. She said that she believes that it's just, I get to a point when I'm with a bunch of people that it's sensory overload. So for those of you who don't know, sensory processing disorder is everybody can experience sensory overload. It's, for example, whenever you go into Chuck E. Cheese and you immediately walk out of Chuck E. Cheese and you feel like your head's going to explode. At least I think most people do. I know I can't, we don't go to Chuck E. Cheese. We don't ever go to any places like that because I physically can't handle it. But I think most people feel like that. That's pretty common. And it's because your senses are overloaded. You have too much sound, too much sights, too much touch. Just whenever your senses are overloaded and your brain can't process the sensations that it's taking in. And so somebody with sensory processing disorder, they are more sensitive to sensory input and they can't handle, their threshold is lower. So for me, when I'm in social situations, if it's too loud, if there's too many people, so if there's too much movement, it can very quickly overload my senses and put me into that sensory overload to where my brain starts to shut down. And she said that combined with the fact that I am an extreme introvert just makes it to where I have a hard time socializing. So she said, it's not that it's a bad thing, just recognizing that about myself. She also said that some of my social issues and my anxiety are probably trauma related. I don't think very many people know, but my birth mom left when I was very young, and I don't ever remember a time that she was there when I was a kid because I was really little, but her being gone and then moving around a lot as a kid after that. And then over time, there was a lot of things that, don't get me wrong, I had a good childhood. My dad married the person I call my mom now. She adopted me whenever I was 6 or 7, I can't remember. But, and I had a good childhood from then on out. But, that, all of that combined with some issues that I had whenever I came into early adulthood, she thinks that the issues that I have now, some of the social issues and the anxiety, is trauma related. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it just yet. I'm feeling actually very relieved. When you live 31 years thinking that you're just lazy, or that you are dumb, or that you are subpar in some way, it's kind of a relief for someone to tell you, no, it's just that your brain's wired a little differently and you just need to learn how to do things differently. That's the point that I got to whenever I was talking to my psychologist. She said her recommendation at this point, because psychologists can't prescribe medication and she doesn't do counseling and stuff, she would like for me to continue on a path of, she gave me a bunch of recommendations and books to read, but she wants me to try to manage life naturally and holistically first before jumping on the medication train, which I completely agree on. It doesn't matter right now anyway, I'm pregnant, so but there was a lot of things that she said that I could do, different ways that I could work around my ADHD that made a lot of sense. And it felt like it could work really well with how my brain works. While I'm pregnant and breastfeeding, I'm not going to even pursue medication because of first of all, you can't whenever you're pregnant, and it's highly discouraged whenever you're breastfeeding. But even if I could, I would really like to try as an adult to try to overcome these obstacles on my own. I've always told my 11-year-old that I don't ever want him to use his ADHD as an excuse, and I'm telling myself the same thing. It's not an excuse. I feel very strongly that it's just recognizing that your brain is wired different. Just recognizing that gives you a lot of power. You can look at things and realize that you can't do things the way other people can. You just can't. You need to put tools and techniques in place in order to overcome that. And I've already started to learn that. We went through the whole process of decluttering our entire house, and I have realized that I am either one way or the other. I have either a complete slob and a mess, or I'm going to be just crazy OCD and my house has to be perfect all the time. And so I can pick which one that I want to be, but I can't be in the middle. I can't be a normal person that's able to, let things go a little bit here and there and then just catch up on a weekend. No, it's got to have to be very, very, very clean or very, very, very dirty. Obviously, I would prefer the clean side, so that's what we're trying to work toward. I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I had gone in sooner. It can be really sad to look back on your life and realize that, things could have been, I don't want to say different, because I love my family and I'm very happy with where we are at, and I know God's plan was for things to happen the way that they did. So I'm thankful for that. It just would have been nice to know that there was nothing wrong with me all along, that it was just that my brain's wired different, and that's okay. So my final thought that I want to leave you with is, if you're watching this and you think that something is off, don't wait until you're in your 30s and go get seen by a doctor. It doesn't hurt to talk to somebody. Oftentimes we know when something's wrong in our head, that something's not working right. And so if you think that there's something in your head that's not working right, then go talk to a doctor about it, because it's empowering to know. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this video. So I normally, if you just stumbled on this video, I normally do videos about homemaking and homeschooling and biblical womanhood, and all of those things. So if you're interested in those types of things, those are the videos I normally put out. I hope you'll consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.